Powder, 1 clove of garlic, minced garlic, yeah, and spring onions. So thinly sliced spring onions. We use a lot of spring onions. So Indonesian food.
Comfort zone, not necessarily Indonesian food, but certainly with the tempeh and obviously cooking what essentially today is going to be vegetarian. Some of it's vegan, some of it's vegetarian. So for me, most of the time this I would throw in a slab of meat on the fire once it's deep fried. But what I've done is I've just brushed with a little bit of olive oil, some salt and pepper, and I've got it under the grill, and those get crisp up. And then I'm going to throw this, I'm just going to deep fry some of this. Now I've not seasoned this at all, I'm going to season it when it comes out of the oil. And what I've done to make it a little bit more interesting in South African is I'm using Biltong Spice. So this is a Biltong Spice mix. And we're going to, I've got a slotted spoon. It's stunning this here because it turns into whatever you want it to be honest. So this fries up really, really quickly. And it gives this lovely texture to it. You can see, you can check this out for a couple of seconds so it doesn't overcook it. Because the oil is quite hot. Now, what I've done with some of the other dishes, the other flavors that we're using, and I did some research on this. The thing to do is if you can, is to steam the tempeh first. What it does is it softens it up a little bit, and particularly if you're going to marinate it. So if you're just going to cook it straight, that's fine. But if you want it to take on the flavor of the marinades, you steam it for about 10-15 minutes, and then let it sit, cool down and sit the marinade for at least. What this is, usually very difficult, it's hard to say that it's fermented soy product. And I think it's that fermentation that gives it a little bit of funky vibe that makes it quite different. And so all I'm doing here is just literally tossing my deep fried tempeh in the bacon spice, in the Biltong Spice. Let's get that first bowl. And so you can eat this like popcorn. Obviously with this you kind of need it to be nice and hot. It, like all deep fried foods, it kind of, if it cools down too much, you get a lot of flavor of the oil rather than anything else. So it's best to do this in small batches and send it out. And what I've done with this is I've done 2 dips. Cream cheese and chive, I've put some herbs and a little bit of full fat yogurt through that, which I'll serve as one. And then the other one I couldn't resist to do something Indonesian, and I've made my own peanut sauce. Be interested to get some opinion from later what they think my version of peanut sauce is. It's actually quite a tender sauce. And so this is just really kind of bar food or bar snack type stuff. And with this, with a little crostini that we're doing, or you could actually use it as like a little crostini, as a little something you can actually do snacks on. You can actually build some little cream cheese or something on that, actually have it as a little canapé. So that was the one kind of idea of just a sort of snacky vibe. Let's put it in the front. Is a tandoori. So basically what I've done is I've used the tandoori paste and mixed it with full cream yogurt, and then I've steamed the tempeh and then soaked it and left it in. So this will be what are we now? 4 hours. So hopefully it'll soak it up quite nicely. You can do this on the fire. It gets messy. It gets messy on a grid. You can actually do this quite nicely on a braai, and it's not. It sticks and burns on that too easily. So the fooling around that I did with it, it gets a better result if it's baked than if it's actually.
So what is in your tandoori dressing there?
Okay, so the tandoori paste, it's basically a masala. It's got garlic, ginger, paprika, cumin, mustard seed, and yogurt. And then you mix that in with just normal yogurt. And then the other one that's going to go into this is my bobotie flavored. Now I was thinking about this, and something that's hot, but it's also quite thirsty. And that's obviously the whole idea that we know of the bobotie. So what you could do with this is it crumbles up and cooks quite nicely. You can actually crumble this up and cook it. But I've again done it as something we'll bake to more get an idea. So now the masala, curry masala, a leaf masala as it's called, and I've got peach chutney. So I've mixed this a little bit of olive oil to get a spice paste, and peach chutney, a little bit of seasoning, and then that's going to also. This I'll put it on the grill. This big thing will come back to the grill. So, a little bit of a Moroccan vibe. Again, we're using the little planks, and I'm just going to brush these with a little bit of olive oil. When they come off the grill, I'm going to season them with a little bit of spice mix, a sort of Now I'm using slices for no other reason than just to show some variation in terms of the shape you've presented us today. I'm actually doing some it takes a few days, but literally what they do is they take the whole soybeans and they soak them for about 12 hours. You've got 12 hours and then drain them, and then the whole idea is you want to get the hulls in, so you don't want that much, you just want the actual bean itself. There's a process by which they crush it, so you can do it with a rolling pin, you can do it with cloth, smash it up, and that kind of stuff. And so once you've got that and dried out, then you have to inoculate it, because this is where it gets all sexy and cool. Is the fermentation process. So it's I can't remember now. It's a rhizopus. It's a thing that has mycelium. Mycelium are the bacteria that have those long, thin. Do you think of white mold cheese? When you explore yourself, it literally is a cake of compressed beans. So it's half beans and little bits of broken up beans. So that's where it gets its texture from. That it's not as processed, or it's nowhere near as processed as tofu. And so it's far better for you in terms of the vitamins. I think it's B12. It's strong in very good antioxidants. So it's incredibly healthy. It's a much healthier protein for you than tofu. And I think. But I first wanted to crisp them up and give them some grill markings first before I put the spice in. I don't want the spice to burn, whereas on the next dish I'm doing that's exactly what I'm after. Okay, but I'm going to claim it for my own. But that's essentially what it is, and that's how people love eating these days. It's lots of little interesting bites rather than one gigantic portion of food. And this is quite a versatile protein to actually do that. So what I've done here is I've made a little bit of like a couscous salad. So I've just used, it's quite bright yellow, I didn't realize it was the actual corn couscous, which is actually quite cool. And then what I put through this is just some chopped vegetables. So I steamed the couscous, and then I just added some thinly sliced red onions, some red peppers, cucumber, and some preserved lemon. And then we've got lots of herbs through there, coriander, parsley, and mint. Okay, no, cool. As long as they don't over, we don't say burn. You say caramelized. It's always caramelized. Sometimes excessively caramelized and needs to be put up with a fire extinguisher, but it's still caramelized. So we're looking for not too excessive caramelization. Okay, so now we just take our little planks here and we just build ourselves a African chili paste, harissa. So what I've done with this is I've roasted off some chilies, some bird's eye chilies and some garlic, made a paste out of that, and then I've toasted equal amounts of cumin, coriander and caraway seeds. And then you mix, I just use tomato juice, and you mix the entire thing up as a, you can do it as a, with tomato paste, I like to use the tomato sauce, tomato juice, so it's more of a dressing, and you can actually, you can still use it as a dipping sauce, but also it drizzles quite well. And then I've added some chopped garlic, some chopped coriander, and also some preserved lemon rind to that. So the whole idea with that would be just again to finish this off on the grill as if it was sauté. I've done some toasted walnuts, chopped coriander, and a little bit again of the preserved lemon rind.
We picking up that you like preserved lemon.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
No, it's beautiful flavour.
Yeah. And we the restaurant, my restaurant in Paarl, the owners export citrus. Again, you know, we have a diverse influences in food in South Africa, particularly in Cape Town. And this is clearly something that we've developed over time. It's actually interesting because the dried fruit, there's a lot of sugar in the food, and we kind of have this sweet and savoury balance to all of the food. And it's actually interesting because there's lots of theories as to where all of that came from. But what we also know for a fact is that Europeans for a long time were obsessed with making a lot of sweet savoury food, a lot of sugar in everything, largely because sugar was discovered, you know, like spices and became highly sought after. Sugar, salt, all of those sorts of things. And so they went through a time when everyone used to put lots of sugar in everything. And what got bored with the sugar and moved on to chilies and other things, and we never moved on here. So it's part of a uniquely South African development that if we continue to use a lot of the dried fruit and the chutneys and the jams, still to this day, hundreds of years, still play an important part in our diets, or in the natural makeup of our cuisine. Rice with some raisins, a very traditional accompaniment to the recipe. And then we're just going to finish the dish off by putting our tempeh in there. Get a little bit of salt and pepper. Okay. I'm just going to use a little bit of toasted coconut as a garnish for this. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention that I used coconut cream in my peanut sauce. Throw it in there. And of course, what we would traditionally serve this with, as you say, we didn't realize that it has Indonesian origins, is sambal. The sambal we normally sambal, that's an Indonesian word. It comes. So there we go. There's our little. Oh, it's just the last one. Yeah. The corners start to like burn, you get that lovely kind of smokiness. So this works really, really well on the fire, on a braai. You can actually say, do it in larger pieces so that it doesn't slip through the grit, but you can do it on thicker planks. You can always cut it up afterwards, but it's often more manageable as a larger piece on a braai.
drain it. So, again, another secret to stir fry, right? We use gas, we have to use gas, and then we use a wok. Then you will get smoky flavor from the street food from Thailand, from Indonesia, anywhere. You get a smoky flavor. I get a lot of phone calls from their friends' moms to us, where did you buy Indomie? So, Indomie you can find it in Tempeh, in anywhere, basically, China shop, spice shop, yeah, anywhere. It's very popular everywhere.
Sorry, I have a question, even though I'm up here. You mentioned that you could almost mince or like break it up,
Yeah.
the tempeh, right? And I think you were referring to with your bobotie.
Yes.
Would you do that before or after? At what time would you sort of crumble it?
Well, if I was going to crumble it, then I'd make it more along the lines of a traditional boutique in that you fry it off with the spices.
Okay.
So you'd actually make it as if that were the mince base.
Okay.
You can you can do a bit of mince in there, but if you're doing a vegetarian or vegan version,
This is not what we usually have in Indonesia, but today we want to show you the ramen style of Indonesia. So it's almost like soto, but you guys know ramen better than soto, so let's just call it ramen, but it's not ramen. Okay? If you call it ramen in my class, it's soto. Okay. We're just going to simply boil it until it's oh, that's already done. Yeah, with white pepper and salt.
Terakhir kita ada webinar dengan Chef William Wongso ya. Ibu menikah dengan warga negara apa, Bu? Ibu menikah dengan warga negara apa? South Africa. Oh, posisi pelele dong ya. Posisi pelele di Afrika ya. Tadi apa yang Ibu masak tadi, Bu?
Tadi kita buat ini.
Ya.
Kita promosi tempe,
Ya.
kita bikin tempe mendoan, otentik resipi dari Indonesia. Terus kita bikin fusion sate tempe,
Oke, siap.
ya, dengan fry sauce.
Ya.
Terus ini kita promosi Indomie.
Ya.
Ini Indomie goreng, pakai
Ya.
Indomie goreng, tapi kita goreng lagi di wok dengan prawn, dengan tambahin kecap manis. Yeah,
Is that better?
oh, that's right.
Okay.